Today we are discussing a small topic in the subject mechatronics. Today's topics are displacement and velocity sensors. First of all, we will discuss what is a displacement sensor. Displacement sensors are used for identifying or measuring the motion of a component by two methods. First one is contact sensing and second one is non-contact sensing. In contact sensing, the sensor will be placed over the component surface, and due to this physical contact the sensor will measure the motion of component. In non-contact sensing, there will not be any physical contact between measured object and the sensor. Here the presence of the object will be determined by keeping the sensor at a specific distance, and displacement sensor can be further classified as potentiometer or resistive displacement sensor and inductive displacement sensor, which consists of LVDT and RVDT, strain gauge displacement sensor and capacitive displacement sensor. First of all, we will discuss potentiometer type. Potentiometer type is nothing but a variable resistance. You can see a variable resistance consisting of a variable link. When we are applying a motion at the variable link, the resistance of the potentiometer will vary, and we have an equation for potentiometer as V is equal to I into R into L, where V is the voltage produced or EMF produced due to current I, where R is the resistance of unit length of potentiometer wire and length L is the varying length of the potentiometer. These are the parameters affects the induced EMF. That is, when a motion is given on the variable link of the potentiometer, that will vary the resistance, and accordingly that voltage also vary. By comparing the voltage, we can identify how much displacement occurred at the variable link. There are two types of potentiometers. First one is linearly variable type and second one is rotational variable type, and the figures are shows for your reference. And the advantages of potentiometers are these are less expensive, high output, high electric efficiency, operation is simple, rugged construction, and disadvantages are slow dynamic response, low resolution, early wear of the wiper is possible. Wiper means that variable link. Now we will discuss the second type, that is linear variable differential transformer, which consists of a core at the middle one that is occurred due to the displacement, and you can see a primary winding and two secondary windings, and the schematic diagram shows the working of a LVDT. When core moves left or right, that will produce a excitation due to mutual induction at secondary coil as ES1 and ES2, and the AC excitation or input energy is given at the primary winding, that can be expressed as E naught, and we have an equation that ES1 minus ES2 equal to E naught. When ES1 is greater than ES2, E naught will be positive. If ES1 less than ES2, then E naught will be negative. By comparing the values of E naught or differential output, we can identify the position of the core. Is it in left hand side or right hand side? For easy understanding, we can see a figure of linear variable differential transformer, that is Armature at middle is the neutral position. When armature moving upward, there will be an, if this is the ES1 and this is the ES2, then the motion will be positive because ES1 will be higher than ES2, and in our case ES1 will be less than ES2. This is the second case where armature will be at the bottom side. Neutral case, positive case and negative case are shown in the figure. Now we will discuss what is a capacitance resistance. Here we are using a variable capacitor. The main parts of a capacitive resistance are two parallel plates. You can see in the figure A, there are two parallel plates and that will be kept at a specific distance and filled with a dielectric material or medium at the middle. We can see that in normal capacitor, these two parallel plates will be in fixed position. Here we are using a variable capacitor, hence the top plate will be moved linearly. According to the motion of the top plate, the energy stored between plates, that is within dielectric medium, will vary. According to that, we can determine how much motion is occurred at the variable plate. And you can see different type of capacitive resistance, that is here in between two plates we are replacing dielectric medium with a core with movement. You can see that the capacitive storage or electric storage will be reduced while the core moving outward, or dielectric medium is removed between parallel plates, and when that comes into the system, the capacitance will increase. This is another medium. Here the middle dielectric medium will oscillate top to bottom. This is another type, and we have an equation C is equal to epsilon r into epsilon O into A divided by D, where epsilon r is the permittivity of dielectric, epsilon O is the permittivity of free space, A is the area of overlap, D is the difference between plates, that is distance between plates. And using this equation, we can classify capacitive sensors as capacitive sensor working with changing dielectric constant type, that is when we are varying dielectric constant, that is epsilon r into epsilon O, that is known as changing dielectric constant type. And you can see the figures here. This is a dielectric constant changing capacitive sensor, and second one is changing area of plate, that is in the equation of capacitance, area is an important term. If we are varying area of the plates or increasing the area of top plate or bottom plate, we can change the capacitance, and according to that we can sense capacitive sensor or motion displacement. And third type is changing the distance between plates, that is D. Changing the value of D, we can calculate capacitance, and according to that we can determine displacement, that is we can reduce the displacement between plates or we can increase the displacement between plates for determining displacement using capacitive sensor. There are three methods for determining capacitance or varying capacitance. Now we will discuss what is a strain gauge. Strain gauge is an important term in a mechanical engineering. In mechanics of solids, we have already studied what is a strain. Strain is the ratio between change in length to the original length. And here we have an equation for strain gauge or strain as delta R divided by R is equal to G into epsilon, where delta R is the variation in resistance and R is the resistance for the metal foil, and G is the gauge factor, which is the constant of proportionality, and epsilon is the strain. For an example, we will select gauge factor as 2 and for a metal foil, and wire gauge factor as 100 for P type and minus 100 for N type. We will select a resistance, base resistance as 100 ohm and gauge factor as 2, and change in resistance can be determined using the relation change in resistance delta R is equal to R into G into epsilon, and when epsilon varies from 0.01 to another value, the change in resistance will vary from 0.2 to another value. That is, R and G is constant for a component which is used. നമ്മൾ സ്ട്രെയിൻ ഗേജ് ഉണ്ടാക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് അതിൻ്റെ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസും ഗേജ് ഫാക്ടറും ഡിറ്റർമിൻ ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ ആ വാല്യൂസിൽ വ്യത്യാസം വരില്ല. ആകെ വരുന്ന വാല്യൂ എപ്സിലോണിൽ വരുന്ന വേരിയേഷൻ, അഥവാ സ്ട്രെയിനിൽ എന്തെങ്കിലും വേരിയേഷൻ വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ കറസ്പോണ്ടിങ് ആയിട്ട് റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് ചേഞ്ച് ഉണ്ടാവും. ആ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് ചേഞ്ച് നമ്മൾ ഡയറക്റ്റ്ലി മെഷർ ചെയ്താൽ നമുക്ക് അതിൻ്റെ ഡിസ്പ്ലേസ്മെൻറ്റ് മനസ്സിലാക്കാം. There are three types of strain gauges: metal wire, metal foil, and semiconductor. This is metal wire, this is metal foil, and this one is semiconductor. Now we will place a strain gauge over a test specimen with a Wheatstone bridge as shown in the figure. You can see that there are two strain gauges are placed over a cantilever beam, strain gauge 1 and strain gauge 2, and corresponding readings are measured at R1 and R2, and two R's are given here. Both are reference resistance for the equipment. When a force is applied over the cantilever beam, you can see that the cantilever beam will bend downward. According to that, there will be a high strain at top portion and reduced strain, negative strain at the bottom portion, and we have an equation that delta R will vary according to epsilon. So resistance R will be increasing and R2 will be reducing. Using this relation, we can determine the stress, strain, displacement, force, etc. occurred at the cantilever beam due to external force. This is the basic functioning of a strain gauge. There are various applications of strain gauges, and strain gauges are widely used in experimental stress analysis and diagnosis on machines and failure analysis. They are basically used for multi-axial stress fatigue testing, proof testing, residual stress and vibration measurement, torque measurement, bending and deflection measurement, compression, tension measurement, and strain measurement. There are wide range of application of strain gauges, and these are used as a base for machine tools for sensing the motion and safety in automobiles. In particular, they are employed for force measurement in machine tools like hydraulic and pneumatic press, and as impact sensor in aerospace vehicles. Now we will discuss what is an eddy current sensor. You can see that an electric conductive material are placed, and the main important thing is an eddy current sensor will be a non-contact type displacement sensor. Here an alternating current is passed through the magnetic field or coil. Here there is a coil is placed, and due to alternating current, that will produce a primary magnetic field. When the sensor travels near to the electric conductive material, due to this primary magnetic field, an eddy current will form at the electric conductive material. That can be expressed as secondary magnetic field. Due to this secondary magnetic field, we will get a obstruction for primary magnetic field, and that can be sent to a signal processing unit, SP, signal processing unit, for further amplification of the signal to determine whether a eddy current or conductive material are near to the core. Or we can say that an eddy current sensor is mainly used for determining whether an component is present or absent near the sensor. The explanations are given below, which is explained by me earlier from the previous slide, and we are going towards Hall effect sensor. Hall effect is an important property used in electronics, and it is the measure of magnetic field. We can say that when a thin conductor, that is here you can see a thin conductor, is powered by a battery, you can see a DC supply powered by a battery, then current will pass through the conductor in a straight line. Current will be passed through the conductor in a straight line. But when conductor is subjected to an external magnetic field, the current flow in straight line will be distorted to different position, or this current flow will be disturbed. This current flow will be disturbed, and it is known as Lorentz force. Hence, the electrons will move to one side of the plate and positive pole to the another side of the plate, creating a potential difference between two sides of the plate. We can draw a figure here. I am drawing a figure. The conductor current is produced here. When magnetic field applies, this electron will move distort to both sides, and here there will be a positive and here there will be negative terms, and you can measure a electric voltage or EMF at these two sides. That is, you can see the initial stage the flow will be like this, but here the current will be like this. This is known as Hall effect. Using this principle, we can determine the displacement, velocity, position, level of fluid flow, etc. And here and direction of applied current is shown in the figure, magnetic flux is shown in the figure, the final Hall voltage direction is shown in the figure. These all are the functioning of a Hall effect sensor. The working principle of Hall effect sensor is discussed in this slide, and we have discussed all these parameters. You can read for your reference for preparing your note. Now we will discuss what is a tachometer. We have already used tachometer for measuring velocity or speed of a component. Here the main components are a core or shaft, which is placed between two permanent magnets, and there will be a commutator or split rings between the brushes, split ring at the shaft end, and which will convert this energy into DC supply commutator, and Power is moves towards the voltmeter through a resistance, variable resistance, and by measuring the voltage we can determine the speed measured. This is the working of a tachometer. I am explaining once more. ഫ്ലൂയിഡ് മെക്കാനിക്സ് ലാബിലൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ ടാക്കോമീറ്റേഴ്സ് യൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ടാക്കോമീറ്റേഴ്സ് മെഷർ ചെയ്യുന്നത് എങ്ങനെയാണെന്നുള്ളതാണ്. സ്പീഡ് മെഷർ ചെയ്യുന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഷാഫ്റ്റ് വെക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഷാഫ്റ്റ് റൊട്ടേറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. ഷാഫ്റ്റ് റൊട്ടേറ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് രണ്ട് പെർമനൻറ്റ് മാഗ്നറ്റായിട്ടുള്ള നോർത്ത് ആൻഡ് സൗത്ത് പോളിൻ്റെ ഇടയിലായിരിക്കും. അത് ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി ഇതിൻ്റെ ഉള്ളിൽ ഒരു വോൾട്ടേജ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യും. ഒരു കമ്മ്യൂട്ടേറ്റർ വെച്ചിട്ട് അതിനെ നമ്മൾ ഡയറക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യും. ആ ഡയറക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് ഒരു വോൾട്ട് മീറ്ററിൽ ഇതിൻ്റെ ഔട്ട്പുട്ട് മെഷർ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും. ആ വോൾട്ട് മീറ്ററിൻ്റെ മെഷർമെൻറ്റ് കറസ്പോണ്ടിങ് ആയിരിക്കും സ്പീഡ് ഓഫ് ദ കമ്പോണൻറ്റ്. പിന്നെ വോൾട്ട് മീറ്ററിൽ പെട്ടെന്ന് ഡാമേജ് ഒന്നും വരാണ്ടിരിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് ഒരു വേരിയബിൾ റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ്, വോൾട്ടേജ് കൺട്രോളിങ് റെസിസ്റ്റൻസ് നമ്മൾ ഇതിനകത്ത് എക്സ്ട്രാ ആയിട്ട് യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. ഇതാണ് ടാക്കോമീറ്ററിൻ്റെ വർക്കിംഗ്. The working of tachometers are described in the slide. Thank you.